Hello everyone, I'm Mark Jeffrey, and welcome to another edition of This Week in Cloud Computing. Our good friend Amanda is not here today, unfortunately. She couldn't make it. She's hosting the Influence SD Awards in San Diego tonight. They'll be streaming live on TechZulu at 6 p.m. So techzulu.com is where you can catch Amanda. So I want to introduce my guest host today, Melissa Rowley, to my right. Hello, Melissa.
Hello.
Welcome. She'll be reading the news and commenting. And of course, Max Shubin, who we work together at Mahalo, or work together actually. You're still at Mahalo now.
Yeah, I'm still at Mahalo.
You're basically our cloud. You're basically our cloud guy.
Something like that, yeah. Systems architect.
Systems architect, chief cloud guy. Well, we don't really have a cloud. I mean, we basically build our own. So.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, an actual engineer. So first time we've had. Someone who's been down in the bits and bytes and the wires and the machinery, I would say, probably on the show at the deepest levels. And of course, we actually have two guests on today. We have Ellen Rubin, the founder and VP of products at CloudSwitch. Hello, Ellen. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to see you.
And we also have Todd Miller, who's here in the studio with us. He is the founder and CEO of Gwabbit. So I'm hoping, and that is with a W, so I'm not just mispronouncing it like Elmer Fudd. It is Gwabbit.
It is Gwabbit. You got it right.
So first of all, a couple of announcements. Let's see. Under the Radar's Commercializing the Cloud Conference is next Friday, April 16th at the Microsoft campus in Mountain View. The schedule was just announced. John Quinn, the VP of Engineering at DIG, will be doing the morning keynote. There's half-day passes for $345. And to register, go to www.undertheradarblog.com/register. I don't know if we have that on the screen or not. If that's possible. But if not, that's okay. We'll put it in the show notes afterwards, so the link will be there. Always On's On-Demand 2010 conference is April 19th through 21st at HP's headquarters in Palo Alto. It's where top internet companies disrupting the enterprise square off with the incumbent players, pioneering cloud computing and the SaaS, or software as a service. Get 33% off your ticket now by registering at http alwayson.goingon.com/cart.view, which is a bit long. So we'll put that in the show notes also, so you won't have to actually listen to that 5 times. And the Cloud Computing Expo is taking place April 19th through 21st at the Gwabbit Convention Center in New York City. The show is offering a free Twitter VIP pass to anyone who retweets the following. Register for Pound Cloud Expo New York for free at Pound Cloud Expo, and another URL, which it's a bit.ly URL, so I'm not going to actually say it out loud. But all these things will be on the show notes. In fact, the show notes, I think, are up on the site right now, if I'm not mistaken. We're starting to put them up before the show. So we're hitting about 24 to 48 hours before the show starts. You can actually go to the This Weekend site for cloud computing and see the show notes for the upcoming show. So you can actually make comments and tell us whether we're doing the right things or not, or make suggestions or changes, etc. Okay, so let's moving right along. We've introduced our guests. I would also like to thank our sponsors. This Week in Cloud Computing is brought to you by Verticore, Storm on Demand, NetDNA, and their respective Twitters are @Verticore, @StormOnDemand, and @NetDNACDN. And actually, I would also like to announce that we are giving away a free iPad, and we all know you want one because I have one, so you want one, and you can't. Max is jealous of my iPad.
A little bit.
He thinks I got the big one, but they're not. There is no big one. It's just my iPad, so it's large. So
it's just my iPad.
It's just my
iPad.
Large. I love my iPad. So we're going to be giving away a free iPad. To get the free iPad, you must tweet out "Thank you" to our sponsors, which I just announced, and they're once again. So thank you @Verticore, @StormOnDemand, and thank you @NetDNACDN. We will pick a random tweeter, and also pound twist. So pound this TWiCC, so I can find it. So pound TWiCC, This Week in Cloud Computing. We will pick a random tweeter over the next 2 weeks, and you will get a free iPad. We will also, this week, after this show, pick 5 tweeters at random who will win a copy of Tony Hsieh's Delivering Happiness. Tony Hsieh is CEO of Zappos, if you don't know him. We'll pick 5 at random. They'll sort of be the runner-up prize, and then we'll move on to the big prize next week, and we'll basically announce that at the end of next week's show. So please thank our sponsors. Okay, so let's move right along to the news.
Okay, so. Okay, so speaking of the iPad,
Yes.
it's very pretty. This is the first one I've seen. Can I touch it?
Absolutely.
This
You
is the first
can
one
even
I've
turn it
touched.
on. And
I'm so behind in the game. First iPad I've touched. Speaking of the iPad, in a TechCrunch article, Salesforce.com's Mark Benioff writes that we are moving from Cloud 1 to Cloud 2, and the iPad is the accelerator. He continues accelerator.
Okay.
Like, you know.
Has magical powers.
Yeah.
It makes the cloud
Unicorns
happen.
are going to start bursting out of it
It's the cloud your cloud could
any
smell.
second.
The cloud's tricorder.
So, the cloud's what?
Tricorder.
Okay, we could go on and on. But anyway, so Benioff is saying that what's most exciting is that this fundamental transformation, meaning cloud plus social plus iPad, will inspire a whole new generation of wildly innovative new apps that will change entire industries.
Wildly innovative.
Wildly innovative. Okay. In 1999, he said, I was obsessed with the question, why isn't all enterprise software like Amazon.com? And in 2010, the question evolved, why isn't all enterprise software like Facebook? This week, we'll have the answer to the question in our hands with the iPad.
So this is what Benioff is saying, that this week
yes,
we'll have,
this is
the answer.
The answer is in our hands right now. So do you agree with Benioff? Will the iPad create a fundamental shift for cloud computing?
Throw it out to you.
Qualified, yes. And big qualification is, first of all, as you can see, I'm a Mac fan, big Apple fan, big iPhone fan. I agree with everybody who says Steve Jobs is the best CEO on the planet. Having said that, I'm still trying to figure out what problem iPads solve. I think that as pads go, I think it's undoubtedly the best pad there is. But I think that I'm circling back to the answer to the question. I think the real opportunity here is in the enterprise space for electronic clipboards that talk to CRMs and manufacturing systems and production systems and those kinds of things. And I think that if those come to pass, then I absolutely agree.
So you see this like in the warehouse, that kind of thing?
I do.
So you see a guy walking around saying, all right, how many boxes do we have there?
Or in medical offices where you need to talk to the file cabinets, CRMs, those kinds of things. I see that happening. And so to that extent, I absolutely agree with Mark.
But we've seen these tablets before. I mean, I remember seeing them in the 92, 93 at Comdex. That was like the big thing, tablet computing. I think Microsoft was the big entrant at the time.
It seems like every few years ago, somebody discovers tablets or pads for the very first time.
But this is the first one I've actually bought. And I bought it day one. I couldn't wait.
You and lots of other people.
Yeah.
So, but they come and they spend a whole bunch of money on pads and they get beat up on the market and then they go away. Now, I think that Apple being Apple, both because they do what they do so brilliantly, plus they're so great at marketing, I think that the iPad has a much better chance of succeeding. But I see it a little bit less as a prosumer app and more as an enterprise app.
Okay. Ellen, what do you think?
So, yeah, I have to agree with what Todd was saying, and not that I don't want that free iPad you guys are offering for sure, and that's all exciting and stuff. But, so to me, the opportunity about cloud computing has so much to do with the enterprise, and there are a lot of things going on in the background. Obviously, having access to social networks is really key to that, and a lot of the stuff, the underlying infrastructure, things that have been happening over the past, even more than 5 years, right, around virtualization and service-oriented architectures and stuff. So all that stuff is really key. But for me, the iPad isn't the thing that's going to be transformational in that. What's really exciting is the idea that companies are starting to get more comfortable putting things outside of their firewalls. And in fact, you have to give credit to Mark himself for having started that revolution.
Right.
I was an early Salesforce.com user, like back in the early days at one of my early startups, and no enterprises were doing that stuff. That was like crazy stuff back then. And you look at it now, it's like it's just transformed the way people think about taking your customer data and putting it outside of your data center is a big deal. And so to me, those are the kind of transformational shifts. iPad's an enabler, that's great, but I don't think it's critical here.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next story.
Okay, so a little environmental organization called Greenpeace.
Oh, them.
You heard of Greenpeace?
I've heard of them.
So they've recently stated that they would like cloud computing to function with renewable energy. They want more people in cloud computing to start. Keeping that, being
like
conscious
gorillas
of
on
that.
treadmills with a banana hanging in front of them?
Whatever renews the energy.
Solar panels?
Windmills. Gerbil on the,
Okay, so basically
on
they
the
don't want us
treadmill.
burning coal and to burn our data centers.
Yeah.
or something.
So Google and Microsoft responded, and they've asserted that cloud computing will contribute to climate change. Their take is that the internet's green and data centers are getting greener.
So wait, so Greenpeace is basically saying that data centers are not green, that they're evil.
I don't know that they necessarily said
industrial
data centers
smoke.
are not green. They're stressing that they want data centers to work
Be
with
greener.
renewable energy.
Okay.
and be greener is another way of stating. I would interpret it that way. Google and Microsoft haven't really addressed the renewable energy question so much, but they have addressed the fact that because people are using the internet more, their carbon footprint is heavy, and so therefore it's helping the environment.
Okay.
So the question is, we touched upon green tech on the last episode. Is Greenpeace going too far, or is there some merit to their stance on this?
Okay. I ask you, Max, is the cloud an evil force that will destroy the planet or not?
No.
Why is that?
Systems now are low power consumption.
Well, that's true.
Most CPUs that people buy are.
Because basically, when we've gone and built racks,
yeah,
it's people who haven't seen them, they're really sandwiched in there, like, really tightly. Heat is an issue.
High density, low power consumption is where everything's going, and cloud computing is no exception. Microsoft and Google both are probably the leaders in green data centers.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Is that
Google
true?
especially, yeah. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but
yeah. Okay.
They all use low power consumption CPUs and power supplies. So.
Okay. What do you think, Todd?
I think that cloud computing is pretty low on the totem pole of issues that we need to deal with. I think that we need electric cars. I think that we need to get rid of coal plants and fossil fuel burning, and I think on the list of 1,000 things, and maybe we can toss in reducing the population from 7 billion down to 3 or 4 billion, but I think that on the list of 1,000 or so things that we need to deal with to make the planet greener, cloud computing might be 1,000 or 999 on the list.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so Ellen, what do you think?
So, not to be too controversial here, but I think there's like a fallacy that people have that when companies build their own data centers, somehow they're going to do that in an efficient way, in many respects, including power and cooling and stuff. To me, it seems like the cloud computing kind of revolution going on is about trying to build things new and from scratch in a way that is power efficient. And so, what you're comparing it against is that people are going to do these types of things either on their own, or they're going to be done in a utility and an efficient way by companies like Google and Microsoft. A lot of the things that we see are these old data centers that are aging. They're using really inefficient servers. All the trends that you guys were just talking about. And the opportunity here in some ways is to do it right. And so to me, it seems like this is a really, I don't know that Greenpeace can embrace it, but it just seems like it's something that's a force for positive change.
Well, you know what I think? I think it's interesting that Greenpeace is thinking about cloud computing at all.
Yeah,
it is.
It means cloud computing's popped up high on the radar into the mass consciousness, not just the geek consciousness. So to me, that's the real story. That's what's very interesting.
Yeah, it just seems to me that the key here is to make sure that the power that supplies these data centers is clean.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we really need to be focusing on.
I do have to say in the chat room, Travis Stoliker with Storm on Demand, so I'll out him as being the Storm on Demand guy.
Thank you for that.
He says, and I think he's responding to you, Max. Okay. He says, that's absolutely not true, Max. Oh, he doesn't say Max. He says, servers use more and more power every year. The more processing power you have, the more energy consumption. Yes, companies are racing to make something that uses less power. Just look at power density in the data center. It's been going up every year, not down. So his claim is that we're basically seeing a lot more.
If you look at
power consumption. Yeah. So yes, the chips are low power,
but we're just
the
seeing
overall
more
power consumption is larger. So therefore,
we could look at it at a bigger picture, like Ted said. The power that goes into these data centers should be clean.
Yeah. I guess that's it. Yeah. All right. Enough with the green pieces. On to the next one.
Who needs them, right? This is actually my favorite story. In the 451 Group's recent Cloud Outlook 2010 webcast, analyst William Fellows says that the U.S. Patriot Act and the European Union's Data Protection Directive, quote, could prevent establishing a cloud without borders. Do you agree? Should national borders stand when it comes to sensitive data? So we're dealing with like homeland security information, that kind of data.
So let's start to Ellen. What do you think about this, Ellen?
So I think that the rules that are rules about sensitive data and, kind of the priorities that different governments have, I think that this is not a place to try to, internationalize all that stuff and, resolve it in the cloud. The point about cloud computing is for it to be used efficiently in the ways in which both, countries, governments are very huge users of cloud computing, and the companies inside the different countries can take advantage of it. So like the idea of, a cloud without border, that doesn't really make sense to me. What makes sense to me is lots of different flavors and types of clouds in the places that make sense so that you can, meet the requirements of whichever organization wants to use the cloud.
Okay. What do you think, Todd?
I agree completely. And wouldn't it be great if we could just get rid of the country borders altogether?
I thought the Greenpeace article was the last one. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I think that, yes, it'd be very nice, obviously, if we all could just get along. And our clouds could all just get along, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. Max, anything to say on this one?
I agree with everybody else.
Okay, good, good enough. All right, next story.
Non-story.
Okay, so Rackspace launched an iPad app to manage a cloud infrastructure, one of the first to offer such a service.
Yeah.
Amazon Web Services does not have apps for the iPhone nor the iPad platforms. It has historically not offered mobile apps for Amazon Web Services. Does an iPad app give Rackspace a real advantage?
That's an interesting question. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, we were just talking about it. Todd was just talking about it.
Well, what do you guys think?
Putting it in the manufacturing sector, or even the system administration sector. I think that's where the future is for the iPad.
So basically, I guess I'm looking it up right now, actually, as we speak. Yes, there it is. Rackspace Cloud Pro. Let's see what it is. It's a cloud application. It's an iPad application that allows you to quickly and easily administer your cloud servers and cloud files with some remote, powerful administration capabilities. Okay, so I get it. Yeah. So basically, you can be at dinner, and the server goes down, and you're like, oh my God. Right now, you have to, if you have your iPhone, you're like, oh God, in the little space typing in, freaking out, and the CEO's calling you on the same phone that you're typing on. We've all been there. Yeah. And basically trying to get it to work again. Whereas this gives you, obviously the screen's a lot larger, so you can put a lot more. Actually, one of my favorite apps on this thing is the Korg synthesizer. That's actually relevant in a minute, yeah. So, and basically, I'm actually going to bring it up really quickly here so you can see what I'm talking about. This actually does have something to do with cloud computing, so just give me a moment here. It's still coming up. There we go. Okay, so here's what the Korg synthesizer looks like. And this is actually a full synthesizer in the iPad. And I used to play around with a lot of synthesizers and be a keyboard geek for a while. So this is a real Korg synthesizer. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because if you notice, you couldn't really do this on an iPhone. There's not enough room, and I know you guys can't see that. But basically, you couldn't really do this on an iPhone because there's just not enough room for all the little buttons and knobs and things. And also, it's not as nice as on a regular computer would probably not be that good either because you got the keyboard in the way. It's really nice having the touch screen and be able to pull this down.
Interface, yeah.
Therefore, what I'm saying is what this has to do. If Rackspace has something sort of similar to this, obviously to control the various parameters of your servers, and you can dial things up and back very quickly. So it's not a command line. That's kind of nice, don't you think?
It's nice. It's scary.
Nice is scary.
Taking out everything, like control outside of the data center, outside of
well, you have that right now
outside of
with
the
FTP.
office. Oh, I don't use FTP.
Well, okay. Well, whatever.
I
The
use
secure
secure
protocols.
shell.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know how it works.
Well, I assume they have a secure connection.
I would hope it's secure.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. Why wouldn't they do that? Of course, it's secure.
But what if can people hack into the? I mean, what if somebody?
Well,
hacks
you can
into
hack
these
into the actual
systems?
iPad itself. Then but that's no
say
different than saying your iPhone or your laptop.
Just
none of us are safe ever, basically. Anyway.
So what do you think, Todd? Is this something that you would be interested in?
I would, and I wrote an article on my San Francisco Chronicle blog about this recently and about the iPad, and this is right on track with that. And as I mentioned before, I think that the real opportunity for the iPad is really in the enterprise space and maybe a little bit less so in the prosumer space.
Okay. Ellen?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the people we work with who are all like enterprise IT guys, and I think a lot of them have iPhones. I don't know that any of them have iPads yet, although I'm sure that will change over time. But basically what these guys do is they're like fighting fires like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so they're accessible 24/7, and they want the mobility, and they want to be able to take a look at what the heck's going on with their server wherever they may happen to be, even if they're out, unfortunately, at dinner with their wives or whatever it is. So I think that is something that's exciting to do. I mean, whether it's on an iPad versus on any other kind of a mobile device, I don't know if that matters. But these guys are like living minute to minute with this stuff, so I think it's really important.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Mr. Vince Cerf.
One of the legendary fathers of the internet.
I actually met him once. I'll tell you the story real quickly. I spoke at the Harvard Conference on the Internet Society in '96, so very early, and I was getting my badge, and this guy wheels up next to me. He's like going, "Where's my badge? My badge is wrong." Or he was yelling because his badge was wrong, and it said Vince Cerf on it, and he's like going, "My name is Vint. And I turned, and of course I knew who Vince Cerf was. I turned, and was like, "You're Vince Cerf?" He's like going, "Yes." He was like, "Pleasure to meet you." And I ended up talking with him for like 5 or 10 minutes, which is kind of cool. But That's my event surf story. So, all right, please continue.
That was excellent. Thank you. So our last story is about Vint Cerf, one of the legendary fathers of the internet, and he wrote something about cloud integration. So this is a little bit long, but I want you to get all the points. So, quote, "At Google, we operate many data centers around the world, each of which contains a large number of computers linked to one another in clusters. In turn, the data centers are linked through a high-speed private network. These data centers support applications and services that users can access over the public internet to tap into virtually unlimited computing power on demand, a process known as cloud computing. Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, and others are implementing and experimenting with similar systems. Currently, these clouds operate in isolation, communicating only with users, but I think we need to start developing interfaces so that clouds can communicate directly among themselves. So, is Vint right? What do we gain by integrating clouds?"
What do you think, Todd? What do you think he's getting at? I'm trying to figure out why he thinks that's important.
Yeah, I guess I'm taking it up to a 100,000-foot level. I do think that it's going to be essential that the clouds talk to each other. I think this goes back a little bit to the question of clouds without borders and Ellen's comments regarding different flavors of clouds. And I think that determines to a large extent which clouds talk to each other, how they talk to each other. It may not be essential that all clouds communicate with each other. It probably is not.
Right.
But it depends on the application, I think.
So it's basically for inter-application communication.
Yes.
Essentially, they're hosted in different clouds. That's why he thinks it's important. And right now, there's no standard way to do it, or I'm gathering that it's not very common anyway. Ellen, what do you think?
Of course, this topic is incredibly near and dear to my heart, and it's kind of a lot of what we focus on here at CloudSwitch. So something I've blogged a fair amount about is this idea of cloud federation, and it seems really clear, to me at least, that what people want is to be able to put different types of applications into different clouds, and they want to be able to have both the portability and also the flexibility about figuring out which types of workloads belong where, which things need to stay behind firewalls, what needs to stay in EU versus what needs to be in a very very scalable horizontally commodity type of a cloud. And that, I don't know if this is what the original article was referring to, but this idea that you don't want to interact with just sort of a single cloud and sort of have to make a commitment into that one particular environment, and each of those relationships becomes very rigid and inflexible. I think that's something that's unbelievably important. Over time, standards are going to emerge, and in some ways, Amazon, having trailblazed on so many levels, has really kind of set the AMI in some ways as a paradigm that a lot of other companies and cloud providers are trying to base themselves off of. But a lot of what's exciting is actually the differences between the clouds. And while standards are going to work themselves out, I think there are a lot of interesting things that can be happening in technology. Obviously, we're very much involved in that neck of the woods to try to make it easier and easier for users to have that kind of a flexibility. Yeah. And I think we're going to see a lot of really cool stuff happening over the next couple of years in this area.
Cool. Okay. Any other comments, Max? Anything to say?
Technologically, it's all there. It's all the pieces are there. Just putting it together. Whatever application needs to do it. Sharing information is scares some people, but I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I believe I'm hearing something. Let me just check and see if I am. I'm pretty sure I am. That's right. You know what that means. It's Storm on Demand time. I won't sing Kill the Gwabbit. I was thinking about singing it during this, but I won't do that to you, Todd, I promise.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Kill the Gwab. No, I won't do it. Anyway,
you said you were
Storm
go
on
there.
Demand. Storm on Demand, stormondemand.com, is an infrastructure as a service cloud computing platform that is powerful like this guy. Look at him, he's ripped. Powerful enough to replace dedicated servers. A proprietary cloud platform that was designed by Liquid Web, one of the largest web hosting providers with over 12 years of experience. That's 12. It's easier to use and less expensive than Amazon EC2. Features include server setup in minutes, easy scaling, backup and restoration, and pay-as-you-go utility-style billing. Options include cPanel, Fantastico, Ubuntu, Debian. You like Debian, don't you? You're a Debian fan.
BSD. Yeah.
BSD and Debian. Oh, actually, no, that's right. It was free as BSD. Yeah. Anyway, CentOS, Ubuntu, fully managed servers, private networking, and much, much more. Storm on Demand. I'm wearing my Storm shirt. I got my Storm mug. I got my Storm guy. I'm like a race car driver today with all this Storm on Demand stuff. So anyways. Storm on Demand, we love them. They're awesome, and they've been sponsoring us now for show 8. So since the second show, I believe. So they've been with us for 7 shows. So excellent, really great, really glad to have them. Okay, so now we're going to move on to one of our 2 interview segments. We're going to go with Ellen first. Ellen Rubin is the founder and vice president of products at CloudSwitch. Before starting CloudSwitch, she was the VP of marketing at Netezza. Am I pronouncing it right? Netezza or Netezza?
It's actually Netezza, but everybody's Netezza, so yeah.
Regardless, you were a pioneer, or Netezza was a pioneer in data warehouse appliances. And you helped grow the company to over $125 million in revenues and a successful IPO in 2007. Wow. That's amazing, actually, for 2007. As a marketer, you defined and created broad market acceptance for the category data warehouse appliances. And before that, you founded another company called Mana, developer of real-time personalization software, where you raised over $18 million in VC financing. You are a Harvard grad, undergrad, and MBA. So my first question, when you left Netezza in 2008, the following was posted on the Netezza company blog. It is possible to have a great sales manager who doesn't understand technology very well, or a wonderful development chief who doesn't quite mesh with coin-operated sales folks. But a marketer has to understand sales and technology and strategy and a bit of management, and hence the best ones are safe bets to move on to CEO opportunities. Now that you are on the other side, do you agree with this statement? What do you think?
Well, so there was a lot in there, so I'll pick up a couple of things and, kind of laughing a little bit about some of that background. I forgot about that whole blog, so thank you for reminding me. So Netezza was an incredible opportunity, and, the opportunity doesn't come that frequently to be able to be part of something where you change, define a category and take on all of the major technology vendors and stuff, and it was very exciting. What's interesting now is that, there's so many things about cloud computing that are, both major shifts as well as, in some ways, very democratizing. Everything about it, in terms of it being on demand and self-service and, low cost and all that kind of stuff is very empowering. And, obviously being in a startup in the middle of this is, it's unbelievably exciting and feeling like, you're part of something new and big that's growing and making a difference.
Right.
But what's also really interesting is that the role of marketing has changed, in that so much of what people want right now is not the traditional model. At Netezza, we sold these large integrated hardware software systems. We installed them into customers' data centers. It was a big sales cycle. Very traditional enterprise sales model. And the cloud's just not about that at all. The cloud is completely different. It's about, downloading a VM off our website, figuring out how to make the right people be aware of what's going on and what types of products and services are out there, and then kind of getting the heck out of their way and making it possible for them to have a great experience where the product essentially has to kind of stand on its own. So, I think those are a lot of forces that are going on right now. So if you look at what's been happening in even just the field of marketing, it's unbelievably different than it was a few years ago. And the role of enterprise software and how customers want to buy enterprise software and what they expect from it is so much driven by things that happened on the consumer side that it's almost unrecognizable. People just assume things are supposed to work like your iPhone, and,
right.
And they get frustrated if it doesn't.
Well, I do, absolutely, like my iPad now anyway. But yeah. So let's talk about CloudSwitch right now at this point. CloudSwitch recently was the first to launch It recently won the first Launchpad People's Choice Award during the Cloud Connect conference. This is like a limerick. I'm like, my head's exploding. So congratulations. That's quite an accolade from your peers. First of all, why don't we just talk about what CloudSwitch is? We actually haven't covered that. So what is it?
Sure. Yeah, all right. I'm keeping it brief and not too vendor pitchy here. So we're a startup based in Boston. We're about 25 people. We all come out of enterprise companies. We've raised a couple of rounds of venture funding, and we're currently in public beta. So what we do is we help enterprises with existing applications who want to move them to the cloud, like Amazon EC2, Rackspace, Terramark, BlueLock. There's a whole set of cloud offerings that are out there.
So just to clarify, so basically I'm an enterprise and I've got my own in-house serving facility. And now I'm thinking, I want to move this into the cloud.
Exactly. And the reason you might want to do it is that you're running out of capacity in your data center, or you've got a whole bunch of applications that don't really need to be there, like your dev test environments, training, things that get used infrequently, things that spike occasionally but take up space the rest of the time. So there's a whole set of things that are, comfortable and ready to move to the cloud. They're already virtualized. And what we do is we let you point and click the application, including all the networking, the storage, the computing, into whichever target cloud you want to use, We go ahead and we migrate the entire application. You don't have to do anything at all to it, but it still looks like it's running locally in your data center. So everything about it, to the user, to the administrator, stays exactly the same.
Now, how do you do that? Because you're a piece of hardware, right? I mean, my understanding of what I read was that it's actually a switch that you install in your office. Did I get it right or not?
Well, you're not the first person to ask us that, but actually we are completely software, and in fact it's all virtual software. So we have a virtual appliance. You can go right now to CloudSwitch.com, download it as a VM off our website, put it into whatever VMware environment you have or Zen environment, and basically what it lets you do is it lets you pull your virtualized apps and completely securely. We're encrypting everything all the way through. We have a secure bridge between the cloud and the data center. And that's all happening automatically without the customer having to do anything. And I think the key issue for us, without spending a lot more time kind of talking about the product and stuff, is putting the control and the ease of use about the cloud into the hands of the enterprise so that everything about the cloud still feels familiar and is an extension of their data centers.
Now, why wouldn't I just move this stuff myself? Why do I need you? I mean, right now Max can, I would actually go to Max, I wouldn't do it. I would say, Max, we need to move stuff from our data center up to Amazon EC2, right? Yeah. Then Max would go, all right, I don't want to do it, but I will. And then but he's awesome about that. And he'd basically stay up all night working like crazy, and he would move all of our stuff from our hosted environment up to Amazon or wherever we decided to go. Now, how do you make Max's life easier?
Right. So when you have an application stack and you really want it to be the same, as opposed to that you've basically re-architected it to now run in whichever cloud you want to use. Yep. That's actually really hard. If you're going to build something from scratch for the cloud, or if you're going to take something and you're willing to modify it so that it then becomes sort of built in the way that the cloud provider's API and storage architecture works and all of that, you can do all of those things. Our argument, and what we're working with all the beta customers, is that you really don't want to have to change anything. And so what we let you do is to take the existing application stack, not have to change anything about the OS, about the kernels. You don't change anything about your network architecture. You don't have to deal with encrypting anything. You don't have to deal with changing your management tools. Basically when something's in the cloud, that's all different and it's separate from your data center. And we make that all abstracted so you don't have to deal with it.
So essentially you create a virtual version of my existing hosted environment. Is that correct?
No, that's a good way to think about it. We like to say that what we're doing is we're in some way providing an abstraction layer between the cloud and you, so that what's going on in the cloud still just looks exactly the way it did in your data center, and easing all the migration and the security issues that you might have had to deal with.
Max, do you have any comments on this?
I'm already thinking about how we can use it at Mahalo.
Really?
Sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Interesting. I think you might have sold one. That's not bad. Okay. All right. So the rest of this question says. So in your press release, you stated, we believe this, being 2010, is a pivotal year for enterprise adoption of the cloud. So why do you think that? What market indicators do you think are pointing to that? And what are the limiting factors that still need to be overcome for wide-scale cloud adoption in the enterprise?
Right, so it's always important to kind of remind yourself when you're living kind of like at the eye of the storm that there's a whole world out there that kind of just heard about cloud computing, so not to get ahead of the market too much. But what we're seeing, because we only deal with mid-tier and large enterprises, and so we're really only focused on that set of sectors. Last year, I'm laughing because my co-founder, John Considine, and I, when we started the company almost 2 years ago, we used to have to explain to the people we were talking to what cloud computing was before we could explain what we did, right? So that was like 2 years ago.
And now Greenpeace is trying to shut it down. I mean, great. It's like gone from that to this.
Full hype cycles already happened, So, you fast forward from there to where we were in late 2009. And in late 2009, not only were the people who we were talking to familiar with the cloud, they'd already done some tire kicking and experimentation in EC2, and they also, and there were some other clouds they were testing as well, but mostly it was EC2, and they all had either a guy or a small team of people who had been given sort of the authority from the CIO to figure out what the heck they were going to be doing with cloud computing over the next year. So that was kind of coming into 2010, and now what we're seeing is that people are really moving their first set of apps, and they're trying to see how well they perform. What's the end user experience like? How's the chief security officer feeling? How are things going? Take that initial set of applications, kind of measure, test, iterate, and then from there figure out whether they're going to move things in a much more, sort of production scale, which I don't know that we're going to see much of that in the first half of this year, but I hope by the end of the year we'll start to see some great examples of that.
Okay. I I guess that's it. Do you have any other parting thoughts?
You know, it's exciting. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that's happening up the stack, you know, at the platform as a service level, and of course, you know, at the software as a service level, there's no doubt. It's interesting to see kind of what you consider the stodgy and boring side of the world at the infrastructure level have all this innovation going on. You know, it's really shaking things up, and it's very much driven from the fact that people are expecting, you know, infrastructure to deliver things that it was never built to do before. And I think that's why the cloud is exciting.
Okay, well, thank you all. Appreciate it. And now another sponsor break. My voice becomes different. Not Storm and Event, somebody else. It's Verticore, oh Verticore, you should be using Verticore. I promise I'm going to come up with a little something. So I'm still working on it, but it's a song. So, but anyway. Is your cloud hosting provider letting you down? Take a look at managed private cloud solutions from Verticore, a private cloud solution that can easily replace your current IT infrastructure and eliminate IT pains. IT pains, we know about IT pains. Yeah. We do. Yeah. Avoid the cost and hassle of buying and maintaining IT equipment and software. Deliver 100% uptime to end users. Configure and deploy computing resources in just minutes. And I've done this, so I know that it's real. It does work. In fact, thisweekend.com is all on Verticore. With Verticore, your private cloud is hosted in an advanced and secure data center, which uses only best-in-class hardware and software and gives you access to scalable bandwidth, or virtually unlimited and scalable bandwidth. Verticore's team of experts monitor and maintain your private cloud 24/7 by 365, freeing your internal staff, freeing Max, to concentrate on supporting only our applications and projects that can help grow our company. Or you can fire Max. No, actually you can't. You still need Max. You can't just get rid of people just because you have clouds. It doesn't work that way. But anyway, Verticore is awesome. I can't say enough about them. They've been really great to us, and we use them. So you know, we're eating our own dog food. We don't just let anyone on the show. We only let sponsors on that we actually like. So, and that is actually true. We stand behind the products we have on the show. We won't do whiskey like Jason was saying in the last show. Or actually, Mark's sister said that, not Jason. Okay. But not that we don't like whiskey, just not for this show. Anyway, Verticore at verticore.com. Thank you, Verticore, once again. So now we're going to move on to our app of the week. I don't know if we have a package for that. Nice. We are just getting fancier every week here. I mean, it's just amazing. So it's like a tuxedo on
That
our
is
show.
so cool.
Yeah, isn't it? Not that cool. But thank you for saying so politely. So with us this week is Todd Miller, founder and CEO of Gwabbit, Gwabbit. You were previously the president and founder of WebFeet, the world's first federated search solution. Was acquired by ProQuest in 2008. WebFeet was also a 100% virtual global company. So the entire company was virtual?
The entire company was virtual.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So no office whatsoever, just everyone in their pajamas.
None, and that was actually one of the biggest impediments to selling the company, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
because they can't see it. And
yeah, companies have a real tough time getting their arms around that, so it was tough.
So, and you also served as the president of Knight Ridder Source One, where you received Gartner's Best Internet Infrastructure Award in '96. So old school, back in the day.
Very old school, yes.
Yeah, I was around too, so I'm old school. Max was around, but I think watching cartoons. About cloud computing.
Playing NetHack.
For the design, so you won it for the design and implementation of a Lotus Notes-based digital document management system.
Even more old school.
Wow, Lotus Notes is top and old school, big time. So we were going to try to demo Gwabbit, and I know we sort of ran it. We did a show right before this one, which we just found out about on Monday. So we kind of got our wires crossed on the demo. So
yeah, it's not a problem. We have the TechZulu interview, and I think we've got some other stuff online at the demo conference, and some stuff is coming on our website too. So
basically, we can get. So let's talk about what is Gwabbit first of all.
Well, have to back up to 2009 at the first demo conference where we picked up our first Demo God Award, and I had an idea back in 2001 when I was up to my eyeballs with my previous company, and I was doing email with my Microsoft Outlook, and I was cutting and pasting a contact from a signature line in my email into my address book, one line at a time. So the name, the title, company name, phone numbers, etc. And I was thinking, man, there's got to be a better way than this, right?
It does seem rather silly that you can't. You have to do that.
Exactly. And I was also thinking, this idea is so much better than the idea I'm working on right now with my previous bootstrap company. But I didn't have, I was up to my eyeballs with that company. I didn't have the time or money to work on it. So fast forward to 2008, I sold WebFeet, and so I had time and money, a little bit too much time actually on my hands, and wasn't quite ready to retire. And Microsoft hadn't done anything about the problem, so I came up with Gwabbit, and it solves that problem. Every time I get an email with a signature line contact in it, Gwabbit pops up and says...
So Gwabbit mines the actual content of the email itself.
That's right.
So it's not like a VCF card, or you actually are doing something magical.
We're doing it very magical, yes. Yeah.
No,
it's
serious.
Yeah, easy to say, it's hard to do, actually. Yeah, because it's fuzzy technology. And before I got into this business, I had no earthly idea that people could come up with so many different ways to do their signature line contacts. I mean, they're vertical, they're horizontal, they have HTML, they've got colors, they've got fonts. It's all over the place. And so it actually turned out to be a little bit more challenging to do this than I thought it was going to be. But you know, at the CEO level, at 30,000 feet, everything's easy. You just kind of wave your hands, and then things happen. And it's a developer's problem to make it happen.
We know that one.
So that was Gwabbit. And we followed up with a version for BlackBerry. So when you get an email, an alert pops up, says, "Hey, there's a contact in this email. Do you want to put it in your address book?" You click, and it's there. So fast forward to 2010. This is 2010, and the Gwabbit Cloud that we introduced at demo is the sequel. So we spoke to one problem with Gwabbit, and the Gwabosphere speaks to another problem.
The Gwabosphere?
Yeah, we just...
I got to ask you about this name afterwards, but anyway, please continue.
Yeah, we have a whole Gwabbit vocabulary on our website.
Yes, I saw that on the website. Yeah. I got some questions about that. We'll stick to the serious stuff first.
So the Gwabosphere speaks to a different problem, which is once I get contacts into a cloud, how do I keep those contacts fresh and current and synced up with all my repositories? Now, manual contact clouds speak to the syncing function, but they aren't really speaking to the cloud content itself. How do I keep that content fresh and current? And that's where our Gwabbit products come in. So our cloud, the Gwabosphere, is actually the first automatic contact cloud. It's fed automatically by our Gwabbit contact capture devices for Outlook and BlackBerry and soon to be other devices. So every time you capture somebody's contact, it flows into your address book, into the cloud, and then it syncs up with all your repositories like Salesforce.com.
Okay, so basically, and it's always kept up to date in the Gwabosphere.
Exactly.
Now, isn't this sort of Plaxo-like? Like, I'm sure you get this question.
I do, and Plaxo is more of a manual contact cloud. I think they've done a good job establishing the sync with the address book and doing that initial load of content from the address book and then syncing up with other repositories.
But it has to be in the address book to begin with. That's right. That's the key differentiator.
And nobody does that. Nobody takes the time to move stuff into their address book, either to manually type it or to cut and paste one line at a time from their Outlook emails. And most people actually go dumpster diving in their email inboxes over and over again, looking for that email.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Absolutely.
No, I never do that.
Yeah. Well, none of us actually ever do that.
So that's really the key differentiator between the Gwabosphere and previous generation manual clouds. We're really thinking about the content. How do we keep that content fresh and current and comprehensive and synced up with all the repositories wherever they are?
Now, you do this for Outlook and for BlackBerry.
Yes.
Right? So basically, there's a downloadable app or a plugin, I guess, for Outlook.
Yes.
And do you have anything that's for Gmail?
Nothing for Gmail yet. It's on the list.
Yeah.
Basically, everything is on the list.
I would love this.
Everything is on the list. Yeah. So
you're going for where you think the high dollar, where the big money is first.
Exactly. And also the stuff that is easiest to develop. And there are 500 million Outlook users out there planet-wide, and about 34 million BlackBerry users. About the same number of iPhone users, but there's a challenge developing this app for the iPhone.
Yes. Steve will not let you into his house.
Yes, Steve, if you're watching, please.
Steve, let us in.
Stop
goofing around, man. Let us in. So yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, that's the downside to all the iHype. Mm-hmm. So as awesome as it is, you're locked out. But it's so awesome that we don't care.
Absolutely. Yeah, I still use my iPhone in spite of AT&T.
Yeah, I know. Me too. It's the same thing. It's just too good to throw away. Well, Android devices. Android devices are getting better. We have another show called This Week in Android, which everyone else watches as well. Fridays, but the Android stuff's getting a lot.
We're talking about an Android pad at some point.
As soon as I get my hands on one. So we'll save that for the next show. Yeah, the
AnPad.
The AnPad. The ManPad. So Android is very it's more guy-oriented, or at least the Droid phone is. So that's actually statistically true.
Okay.
But is it more guy-friendly? I mean, I know statistically more men are using it, but your
It's
man.
more of a gadget thing. I mean, it's more gadgety. Like this is pretty and it works. And I love it. I mean, personally, I think it's a lot more useful. But the Android stuff, you can make it do things that like you can't have an iPod running your dishwasher, but you can have an Android powered microwave oven or car or whatever. So it's more gadget, more tinker friendly. So that's probably why. So, and also they made a big marketing campaign for the Droid. But anyway, back to cloud computing.
Okay.
'Cause I want to spend, that's another show. So let's see. You're a few things about you guys. You're one of only 2 companies to win the Demo God Award twice. So what is the Demo God Award?
A Demo God Award is something they hand out at the Demo Conference, which is one of the premier conferences for new startups. And
Weren't you just there? Or were you just there? Or
I was not there.
It was Amanda that was there. Okay.
And they've changed the rules a little bit. In this most recent show, they've set up categories, which they didn't have in previous shows, and they awarded one award for each category. And we were fortunate enough to take home an award for the cloud category.
Congratulations. So you basically won the first time, and then for the cloud one this time around. So basically, let's see. You also won the CES Mobile App Showdown. Nice.
Yeah, that was fun.
One thing we didn't talk about, the Gwabbit. It'll sync, not only will it sync with the Gwabosphere, but apparently it syncs with Salesforce, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
That's right. When your contact is loaded up into the cloud, we try to find you on all the social networks, and if we do, we put an icon up on next to your contact. And if you have Salesforce, then we can sync it with Salesforce and push contacts into Salesforce and pull them out.
Now, how do you do this? I got to ask, because I mean, if you're going through the content, I mean, you must be thinking about this too, right? So you basically have something scanning the email, and how do you distinguish between what is the content of the email and what is actually someone's address? Maybe. How do you do this?
Yeah.
What's sort of the magic behind it?
Well, it is magical, actually, or it's magical.
As much as you can tell us about it.
It's magical to me because I'm just technical enough to be dangerous, and so it truly is magical to me. I don't know how much time we have, so I need to make this quick, but the quick answer is that it's a 2-stage process. The first stage is more traditional, where we're looking for tags and things like T for telephone and F for fax and parentheses and numbers and those kinds of things. The second is a probability model, where we calculate the odds that, say, a person's job title will fall before or after their name and before the company name. It's not 100%,
right,
but the probability is high. And so
adjacency probability.
Yes. And so the combination of the two enable us to achieve a pretty high recognition rate.
Do you have any statistics on like how accurate it is? Is it like get it 80% of the time?
It's better and better every month. We keep rolling out new updates. And on Outlook right now, the most recent stats are 92%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, we find the contact and we parse it accurately.
Yeah. That's amazing. That is amazing. This is if you have any sort of computer science background, you recognize this is it's not an easy problem.
It's hard to do.
Bayesian
Easy
theory,
to say, hard
Fisher
to do.
algorithms, stuff like that. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Lots of math.
It's the problems that don't have answers in the back of the book. The red problems.
Yes.
The ones we all did not like to do. So congratulations. This is pretty awesome. So how long has Gwabbit been around?
We launched our first product last March, and let's see, I guess we were up and running 4 or 5 months before then, so about 1.5 years now.
Oh, cool. Okay. So basically, if I want to, now how much does this cost? Does this cost me money?
There's a free version of Gwabbit for BlackBerry on App World. There's also a premium version, and then we also have a version for Outlook, which is $19.95. The premium version of Gwabbit for BlackBerry is $9.99.
And now, is this a one-time charge, or is it a monthly thing, or?
BlackBerry is an ongoing. It's a annual renewal. Outlook is a one-time.
Okay, great. Oh, well, this is very reasonable. It's very, very cheap. So, what about storing does it come with the Gwabosphere, or is that thrown in for free, or is that something I got to purchase separately?
The Gwabosphere is free for all Gwabbit users, or will be. We're going to finally deliver the product at the end of Q2. And we're going to charge if you want to handshake it with things like Salesforce and other repositories. Our plan is to sync up the cloud with virtually every repository out there, including not just all CRMs, but things even like your FedEx address book and those kinds of things, all the different places where you have your contacts.
And now do you, so if you are, I was going to ask you, so your own infrastructure, did you build your own to store all these contacts? Or are you using a cloud offering from a third-party provider?
I'm afraid we built our own.
You did? Okay,
yeah.
So you're not, well, I think for what you're doing, though, I mean, you probably want to make sure that those contacts don't get out, right? So you don't have like a what the buzz problem where Google basically exposed everyone's contact list essentially, and they released Google Buzz inadvertently, and it was a big PR nightmare for them. So you guys must be very sensitive about this.
We are extremely sensitive. Yeah, if we're storing people's contact info and other people's contact info, it absolutely positively has to be secure.
Yeah. And do you find you have people who will object to your product because they just don't trust you? They don't trust that you'll protect it?
Well, we haven't delivered the cloud yet, and so we don't know yet.
So you haven't really have that.
Yeah, but so far we've picked up quite a few accolades on our initial product, so hopefully we're getting some street cred, and I think we've got various good housekeeping seals of approval.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll carry through to the cloud as well.
Any thoughts?
I was just curious in how much you've grown since you launched.
Well, we have a grand total of 10 people, so we're not quite as large as CloudSwitch. And we are not VC funded, actually. I've funded everything out of my own pocket from the proceeds from my previous business.
Yeah, always a way to do it if you can.
Yeah, the previous business was financed with credit cards, and so I like to do it the hard way.
Yes, congratulations. Okay, well, I think I'm hearing something once again that will make me sing, maybe. Storm on demand. Storm on demand. Storm on demand. By the way, my new my Storm on Demand shirt. You can see I have the Storm logo there. So, use the Gwabbit. Use the Gwabbit. All right, I had to do it just once. All right, Storm on Demand is an infrastructure as a service cloud computing platform that is powerful enough to replace dedicated servers. It's a proprietary cloud platform designed by Liquid Web, one of the largest web hosting providers with over 12 years of experience. It's easier to use and less expensive than Amazon EC2. Features include server setup in minutes. Minutes. You just get a little screen, you type in what you want, and boom, there it is. No wires, no, running down there and having the servers fall in the back of your car. Not that that's ever happened to Max and I ever.
Nope.
Nope, that didn't happen. And so you don't have, anyway, so you don't have to go through all that. And yes, it did happen. Don't tell anyone. But we basically, you basically just fire it up on your screen, you're off and running in minutes. Easy scaling, backup and restoration capabilities, and pay-as-you-go utility-style billing. Options include cPanel, Fantastico, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, fully managed servers, private networking, and much, much more. Storm on Demand. We don't have Amanda doing the little guys, so I'll do a little bit for you. Okay, thank you, Storm on Demand. StormOnDemand.com. Okay, so I guess that is it for the show. I want to remind everyone to tweet thanks to our sponsors, both Verticore, so at Verticore, at Storm on Demand, and at NetDNA CDN. Remember, you want to tweet thanks to these people and put pound TWiCC, or TWiCC, so I can find it. And we will choose one at random over anyone who tweets between now and the end of next show to win one of these. Yes, an iPad. Let's turn it on so it looks really cool. Oops. And I gotta say, I've had this thing now for 48 hours. I love it. It's awesome. And everyone's raving about it. You definitely want one of these. So we'll be giving one away at the end of next show. And we're going to take 5 other folks and give them free copies of this book. Delivering Happiness. Sorry, Tony Hsieh. Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos. This is his book. You can't get it yet. But we'll send you these preview copies early for the 5 of you. So make sure you tweet out thanks to our sponsors. Let's see. Also, I want to thank our guests, Todd. Thank you so much for coming here in person. It's always great to have people in person here. I'm sorry we couldn't demo it exactly what we wanted to. But
It's my pleasure, and you have a lovely singing voice.
Thank you. Yes, I do try for anything for our sponsors. It's just the way we roll here. So, where can we find out more about you? Gwabbit.com?
Gwabbit.com.
Okay, so GWABBIT.com. We'll put it in the show notes, obviously, although it's a little easier than some of the other URLs we read off earlier. And Ellen, I want to thank you as well for joining us virtually.
Thank you very much. It was fun.
And we can find out more about you at CloudSwitch.com.
That's right.
And are you on Twitter? You want to get some Twitter followers? Want to plug your Twitter?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Ellen_Rubin, and the company is CloudSwitch.com.
That's Rubin, R-U-B-I-N or R-E-N?
No,
R-B-I-N. Okay, got it. And do you have a Twitter handle you want to plug? Or?
Gwabbit. Just
Gwabbit.com.
Just
That's
GW.
where the name came from.
Oh, we did. Where did the name come from?
What's the story behind Gwabbit?
You know, it was just one of those crazy brainstorming things with the right combination of drugs and alcohol. Somehow grab morph to Gwab, morph to Gwabbit. Yeah,
it'd be more, but I guess you're being
memorable.
Yeah, that's good. And so I want to also thank Max for being here.
Thank you.
And Melissa as well. Thank you so much for coming. You sort of filled in last minute because Amanda We lost Amanda. She had to go do this other thing, and so Melissa very graciously filled in.
Always a pleasure.
We're going to have you back a couple more times. We're going to find something interesting for you.
Cool.
And we will have you back too, I think.
All right.
You're very good.
Are your Max QuickBooks available on the iPad
No,
store?
no,
Oh.
they're not. Well, they made me take them down because we want to talk about. I write books on the side. We're not going to talk about that.
I'm a novelist on the side.
I don't want to plug my stuff here. Well, I do, but it's not really cool.
Quite awesome stuff.
So anyway, you just like it because the guy's name is Max.
That's why you hired me.
Yeah. Yes, I hired him because his name is Max, like the hero in my books. So anyway, if you have an idea for the show, email us at pitch@thisweekend.com. That's pitch, P-I-T-C-H, at thisweekend.com. We want to talk to high-scale people, whoever runs the infrastructure team, CEOs and product managers. We don't want to talk to them marketing people. We don't want them. We want the people who are down, either founding the companies or are actually making the actual things, the cloud offerings. So if you're one of those people and you got something that you'd like to pitch to us, we'd love to have you on the show. We're always looking for more guests. We're always looking for interesting things. So please, pitch at thisweekend.com. And also we invite you to watch our other shows, all available at thisweekend.com. This has been This Week in Cloud Computing. I'm Mark Jeffrey. We'll see you at the same cloud time, same cloud channel next week.